Today's video is all about upgrading your saddle. This is one of the easier fixes you can do to add comfort to your ride. So one of the things that I learned about myself with riding mountain bikes is that I prefer a saddle with not a lot of padding. I have tried a couple different saddles, and most of the time I end up buying a bike that ends up coming with a Volt, which is kind of a small saddle. And I discovered Ergon early on, and I really liked Ergon grips and the Ergon saddle. And for a long time I was running those grips, and then I kind of evolved and tried something else and was happy with those. But I kept that Ergon saddle. And a couple times last fall I had a big ride, 3-hour plus ride out at Cuyuna and in Duluth. And I kind of realized that my Ergon saddle wasn't really cutting anymore. So I started taking a look at what other options were out there. It was the same time when WTB announced that they had a new lineup of saddles. They had to redesign their saddles. And WTB had come up with a new way to fit you to a saddle. So what WTB did was, based on your wrist width, so you take a caliper and you measure your wrist width, you can figure out what saddle should be right for you. And as it turned out, going through their website, they recommended the Silverado medium saddle. So this is a bit of an evolution of my saddles. I started out riding a Volt. I've had this Volt for a few years. My first Bantam, Santa Cruz Bantam, had a Volt. It's a nice saddle, but it's a short saddle, is my complaint about this one. It's not very wide, it's kind of short, and it has a lot of padding, but I don't find that saddles with a lot of padding to be very comfortable. So it wasn't awesome. This is just steel rails. I think it's the cheapest one that comes with. And oddly enough, when I bought my Santa Cruz 5010, even though I bought the S Carbon model, I still got another Volt. I didn't get the Silverado like the bike is supposed to come with, according to Santa Cruz's website, but I just didn't complain because I figured I'd throw an Ergon on. So let's look at the Ergon. So here we have the Ergon saddle. This is the SME3 medium saddle. What I liked about this saddle was that it's a little wider here, it's a little longer on the end, so it's a little bit more comfortable from that perspective. I tend to do a lot of riding where the seat post is down, and so I'm riding at the back of the saddle, and the Volt wasn't very comfortable for that sort of stuff. And this saddle worked for a long time for me, but recently I've had a couple really long rides, and I just haven't found it very comfortable, and decided that it's time for a change. These rails are, I don't know, they're probably steel. This is maybe they're alloy. A little nicer saddle than the Volt I think that I've had, but at the same time, it just wasn't as comfortable. So that leads us to the Silverado. Silverado, this is the very new version of the Silverado, so it's a little bit different than the older one. It's a longer saddle, there's a little bit more room on the end, same about width. I did buy, I think they're the titanium rails, so hopefully this was a little more comfortable. I did notice there's a little kind of pockets here, so maybe it'll give a little bit in those situations, but and just add some comfort to the ride. But this is the Silverado. I'm going to put this on the bike and see how it fits. Now let's compare all three. So now we can kind of see the Silverado next to the Ergon. So size-wise, these are pretty similar saddles. I think from tip to tail, they're pretty close. The width, this one looks a little bit wider, but you have this dead space on the end, so that really doesn't really help that much. If you compare the Volt to the Silverado, I don't know how well it comes across, but the Volt is a little bit shorter. This is tip to tail. This is a little shorter than this guy here, and it is a little bit narrower comparing the widths to each other. So both these saddles are, you kind of see the old style, and this is the newer style of the saddles. I'm curious to see how this one fits. find out if it's comfortable or not. Well, I'm going to install on the saddle and give it a go. So installing a saddle on a bike is pretty straightforward. You have your rails on the seat post, and just it's more about finding a way to slide them in here. There we go. Just slide that in there. Now, of course, we're in the bike stand, so we'll have to adjust the tip and tail once it's on the ground, but I want to just tighten this up. Because once I have this on the ground and I ride it a little bit, I'll for sure know how comfortable it is and move it back and forth. But it's really just take the 4mm on this bike and clean up. One thing I will say is whoever decided to put a sticker on the top of that saddle over the holes in the saddle, in the little venting ports here, that's an awful decision. So just like the other upgrades I've recently done to the bike with the cassettes and the drivetrain, this is just a first impression of the saddle. Once we get into the riding season and I get a few rides on this thing, and I can say, okay, was this better, was this worse? Then I'll come back with a little bit of I'll come back with an updated video. But for now, I'm just happy to try something different and just make some changes. This is the off season. It's kind of fun to make these changes now. See how it rides when the dirt season starts. Well, thanks for watching. What saddle are you using? Have you tried any others than the stock one that came on your bike? Do you prefer a padded saddle? Do you prefer a thin saddle? Let me know. Leave a comment down below. But thanks for watching. Go ride your bike.